Okay, get ourselves a little bit organised here. So we're going to have a bit of a look at what we've been up to on the MEGA65 browser. So those who have already seen some of the previous streams, you see that we've been working on, indeed it's a kind of little web browser that can do graphics and text in there. Now I'm just pulling up my control panel here so that I can see the chat window. Stream Manager, that's the one I'm after. Okay, all good. So we'll be able to see if anyone has any questions there, and of course do feel free to jump in with questions. Always welcome, that'd be great. Now, let us have a bit of a look. So what I was going to do, right, so we've got our script that we can still use to run the thing. Actually, let's just try and do, okay, we can do this, a bit of a trick where we have the two blended through each other. So I'll run that script, and we'll see it's compiling it, and then it's resetting the MEGA65, and then it's pushing the code over, and now the HTTP server is waiting for a request, and the MEGA65 is trying to do DHCP resolution. Now, because I've unplugged the laptop and plugged it back in and all of that kind of carry on, it's possible that I haven't got the DHCP server running on this interface again at the moment. So we'll just check that. So there it is there. So it thinks it's running. Just make sure that the yes, okay, so we've lost the IP address on the wired interface, that's fine. What was it, S? 31F6. Okay, so now we have it. We have an IP address on there, so that's all good. So I might just try and rerun things just in case. I think the DHCP code that I've written will keep retrying, but it's just good for us to make sure. And welcome along to the two of you who are tuning in. Again, I need to get it so that this can show me who is online at the minute. I still haven't figured out a good way to see that. If anyone knows how to drive Twitch to do that, that would be great. So I'd love to see viewers who are there as you come on. So feel free to say howdy as you come on, because at least that way I can see in the chat window who's there. Okay, so it's still not going, so I might have to restart the DHCP server. Ubuntu restart DHCP server. That could be that easy. So, don't know whether, we don't have to do it with the service command. Ubuntu 20.04 restart DHCP server. There it is. Sudo systemctl blah 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 blah. Okay. Let's try it again. Let's make sure I actually have it up. I know why the DHCP is not working, my friends. That's the Ethernet cable for the MEGA65. That won't be carrying very much data at all. Right, let's plug it in. See what I should do. It's less interesting to look at me plug it in. Let's, it's here, isn't it? Hopefully as I plug it in, it will then do the DHCP configuration within a couple of seconds after that, maybe. Yes, it's done it, right. So let's, ooh, and we've got missing text at the top. Yeah, okay. I think I know why that's doing that. This is one of the little things that I need to fix in here at the moment, is that the program doesn't have the ASCII font preloaded in there. And we're actually using the ASCII font for all this. So all the characters are blank at the moment. This is, shall we say, suboptimal. So we'll type blind. Right, so this will try and fetch the page. And I'll just go, because I was debugging where it was crashing before, so it's possible that I still have that debugging enabled. %. Yes, so here's the debugging. So it's printing how many bytes we were receiving with each packet. And then I had a while one loop because it was crashing in a different situation. So let's restart it. Okay, right. So now I'll type in that URL 203.28.176.1:8.123. Apparently I typed too many full stops in, so the keyboard is not currently screwed down there. And that's on DNS resolution. So it's going to bar. Okay, right. 203.28.176.1:8.123. And my URL parser is wonky. This is sort of fun, isn't it? Okay. http://223.176.1:8.123/index.h65. Still getting the port number incorrect. Wonder. So the port numbers have to be converted into network byte order, which is the opposite byte order from the C64. I was just checking to see whether that 22464 was incorrect in there, which doesn't seem to be the case. What I might just do, just for the minute, let's hop across to the source, go down to main. So we're asking for it somewhere, where are we, down here a little bit. We're asking the user to provide a URL at the very beginning. So if I comment that out, it will actually just use the default pre-configured URL, which is exactly the one that we want. So I'm going to make a front-end program for this at some point that lets you load in effectively bookmarks into the browser history and choose the initial URL on startup. Right, that's better. Okay, now we're loading a page. And because we've loaded it once now and the page has that ASCII font in it, if I now go, that one. Okay, so we can see I can type in this page. We can't scroll on, right? So that doesn't help us much, but I can press G for go to, and now it lets us choose a URL. And because that font's been loaded now, which obviously when we actually make this finally, we will preload it into memory. So this is what I was trying to put in. This is the URL for the same page, but now we're seeing the interesting problem with the port number not getting scanned properly. So we'll try and load that. Okay, and that's interesting. And now if we press G again to go to, we can see we've got the history. It's that previous page that we accessed. And in fact, if we hit enter on it, not that you can kind of see here, but it copies it into the editable URL area. We'll show that as we kind of go through and use the history a bit more. So we load up a page again. And if I click on some links, so this is the bug that I was getting when I was connecting to a remote server as well, where the screen just goes to rubbish for no apparent reason. So I really need to fix that problem. But what we can do, while that cuts through, so we disabled the URL selection and parsing the URL. I'm going to put that back in because now that we've done that once, the font is loaded into RAM in the MEGA65. So I haven't powered it off. We're just doing a soft reset with this script that runs it. And so that will load in, and then we'll be able to see that menu asking us to type a URL in initially. Okay, so there we have it. So now I can just type in theory. And it will resolve it and load it. Cool. So we've got a page loaded up there. And so we'll do a little bit of right, so this is the bug that I was going to try and have a bit of a look at tonight to fix, and it happens sometimes in batches like this, and then other times it'll be completely fine. I'll just try and see if we can get it fine for enough runs. Yes, this is just really interesting. So it's quitting out to basic and then typing some of the characters we typed in. The reason that they show up is that we're using the MEGA65's hardware accelerated keyboard scanner in the program. So we're not actually emptying the C64 keyboard buffer. So the first 10 characters that I typed will come out the keyboard buffer, but only if the program has exited cleanly, rather than if it hits a break and does an NMI and like a run stop restore effectively, where it jumps back to the ready prompt sometimes. So it's not doing that. The program is actually exiting for some reason. And yeah, it's quite weird. So the display where we're seeing that rubbish on the screen with the alternate ats and other stuff is like it's switching the screen to the location where it wants the 16-bit text mode for the page display, but it's not actually switching the mode over to that. So yeah, it's a little bit curious as to what's actually causing it, and I'll need to investigate that. Again, let's just try and see if we can't load a sequence of pages. So I fixed a bunch of bugs in the Ethernet controller, which is part of why it now is a little bit faster. So we still have a few seconds delay to get the DHCP, because the Ethernet controller gets turned on, and so it has to do the auto negotiation with the switch. But after that, we actually see that once it's actually done the DHCP configure, that the TCP connection then actually happens really fast. We don't have that 3 or 4 second delay that we were having earlier with it. Now in theory, I can just type in this IP address like this with the port number, and our URL parser will actually put the missing bits on the front and back, which makes life a bit easier. So cool, so that's loaded. So let's try and... Ooh, it's doing it quite reliably now, which in theory means that I can try and investigate. It's a little bit of a bummer to try and show you what I wanted to show with the history with a bunch of pages in there. But well, while it's happening so reliably, let's try and see what we can see in here. Where's my cursor? So it's something, we know the program is exiting somehow cleanly at the end. So there's this while one that runs continuously to load the page. Sorry, and to interact with the page rather. And we've got break, but this is all in the case statement. There's no breaks out here. It shouldn't be exiting that, but we can find out if it is. If we put a while one, so we're going to increment the border color endlessly at the end. So if it's really exiting out in a clean way, we'll find it. The only other option is if it was using the exit C call, but I don't think, yeah, so it doesn't appear in the source at all anywhere there. Grep exit source. Yeah, we don't, even in the libc, we don't have exit. So in theory, it should be getting to the end of that main function. And that should be the only way that it's escaping the program. Because otherwise, so when we need to reload a page, so if we've used G to go to, and that will call a select URL command that lets us type in or choose a URL. We then parse it from where it's stored, so it's at the screen is set to D1000 for that 80 column display, so it's using the RAM under IO. And so the second line of that and the third line is the URL, so we D1000 plus 80 decimal gets us the address, so we pass the URL to get the host name, the port and the path, and then we say we need to reload the page. So then as we come down, we check the mouse and everything else, and then we check the reload variable, as well as a couple of one other way that it could get triggered if a page failed to load. And then we basically, until we load a page properly, we are trying to show the page and fetch a page. So if we get if the error, now that's a bit dumb, because that should be if H65 error is equal to, not doing an assignment in there. So that might fix one or more problems. But again, there's nothing that would cause that function to exit, so we'll see whether it's actually doing that or not. And what have I got there as an error? Just need to switch my display here because I've got it in preview mode and then it's really tiny. Ah, okay, because it was not equal to. Right, okay, no. So that was fine. Well, let's just... how am I going to do this? What I'm going to do, because that page load doesn't always terminate. Sometimes we just get this kind of display like this, where we've got the rubbish there. Let's actually have a look at the video mode and see if we can get some clues as to what might be going on. Because I reckon some of the I/O at D1000 might be getting overwritten. So the screen address, interesting. So it's set to 12000. So that's the address as if a page were loaded. So it's almost like it thinks it's loaded a page and is trying to display it, but there's actually nothing loaded in there. So it sets the video mode wrong because the video mode bytes get supplied in the page as well. Okay. That makes a bit more sense. So it might be in certain conditions where the page fails to load, we don't actually realize it's failed to load, and so we try and display it. But in that case, we should be able to use the G command, and the mouse cursor should still be responsive, which it's not. So I'm trying to move the mouse around, you can probably hear it a little bit, and the mouse cursor is not cycling through the colors the way it was before. So where is it? This is a bit annoying because we have interrupts happening all the time. Maybe I should put disable interrupts at the start of the program so that when we single step through, it doesn't keep going, oh, we need to trigger the 50 Hertz IRQ. But we can get clues from where it was. But again, reading the compiled code from CC65 is not the easiest thing to do. So goodness knows what this is actually doing. But the insight that it seems to be displaying a page, like it thinks it's displaying a page, is quite interesting. We also still maintain the C64 screen at 0400. So if I set the screen address using D018, we can see what's being displayed there. So we're getting error sending HTTP request disconnecting. Right, so we are getting an error, we're realizing that we have an error, and yet we're still trying to display the page. Okay, so that's actually a really helpful clue for us. So let's... Error sending HTTP, okay, yep. So when that happens, we set H65 error. So the communicator function, so this is the callback function for the socket, which in effect will be getting called, if we go back down to the main loop, we call somewhere down here task. Where is it? Should be we're calling task periodic. Sorry, in the load, the fetch page function. Right. So while not disconnected, call task periodic. If H65 error is non-zero, then we drop out. So this is what we are seeing. We're seeing that disconnecting message. Excellent. And then we are seeing the I've still got a, where does TCP close? So it's displaying that TCP close message. So I'm wondering where that's actually defined. Okay, right, that's in, so that's some debugging in socket.c. Let me just remove that because it's just taking up RAM. So if disconnected break, so anyway, in any case we'll be getting disconnected, so it does the TCP close. Now I haven't got any, again, I've been fiddling with this code all over the place, right? So there's a chance that I've just got one of these stupid infinite loops somewhere in there, but I don't in there. I don't think yes, we don't hit sock. Oops. Yeah, so we haven't got any my little while one infinite loops to stop things. Disconnecting. I wonder where that, because the other thing that we have there is this 3 gets printed out. I wonder where that comes from. Because again, we're just trying to, what I want to do is to understand where it's getting to. And where it's going wrong. So we know we're doing the disconnect, but we don't see the disconnected happen. So let's just put a little debug in here. So we'll print out where it's up to in that loop there. And then let's run it again. I do like this ability to transparently blend the MEGA65 and the display over. Okay, right, so it's done it again. Ah, okay, and so now it's dropped. It's interesting. So it's failed to load a page and it has correctly this time gone to there. So let's okay, so that loads the page, and then I clicked on this image and it, well, now of course it's working, isn't it? Well, that's alright, I'll get to show you what I want. No, it's doing it again. Right. I noticed that the mouse is going crazy as well. So I think there's something funny. It's possible the I/O mode is getting set back to C64 VIC2 I/O mode. We can see here, so it's exited out back to ready without triggering that infinite loop code that I put in. We're seeing that 10 characters are output again. So it's not dropping out here at the bottom of main. Okay, let's run it again and try and catch the bug happening. So I'm going to connect to the MEGA65's serial debugger first. 176.1:8.123 and yep, okay, so it's done it again. So I've done T1 to stop the CPU, and set our mode back to the regular C64 screen. Okay, and this time we're not even seeing that do it. Now this is fascinating as well. So all these numbers that are here are showing how many bytes of data are being received in the call. And what's fascinating is that sometimes 0 bytes of data are being delivered, which is not good. It's possible that when we receive 0 bytes of data, that we attempt to DMA copy the 0 bytes, and if you try and do a DMA length 0 on the MEGA65, it actually means a DMA of 64 kilobytes. So all manner of things in RAM can get messed up when we do that. That could explain exactly what's going on. Right, that has me mildly excited that we have a plausible cause of the bug happening here. So let me go back to the correct window. Bloop, bloop. Okay. Right, so we read the data. If not the number of data bytes, well, let's just do it in the positive sense, right? If we have data bytes, well, actually we can leave that there. All we have to do is check when we go to do the DMA, which is somewhere down here. Here we are, L copy. If count is greater than 0, store the bytes. Now I reckon we have to find out why it's sending these 0 byte releases, because it shouldn't. I think that they're happening when it's doing out of order TCP frame reception and reassembly. I could be wrong, but I reckon that that's what's going on. Oops, I've got 2 dots in there. As you can see here, so we've got the cursor keys. If I go to okay, okay, right. Okay, so you can see me here with the keyboard now to do that. So we've got the delete key works for us, and let's say I forgot to put the colon in. We can go back and I can do shift insert to make a free space and put the colon in. So we've already got some half decent editing abilities up there, so we'll hit enter on that. Okay, we have the page. Okay, so far so good. Let's see the page completely. We'll go back to the index page, let's have a look at the fetch page. Yep, that's all good. Let's look at the megawatt page. Oh, and it's bombed out there. So let's try and capture that again. So we've got further this time. Again, it's fascinating. We're getting these 0 bytes, but that's right. Let me just reload it. Okay. 203.28.176.1 Okay, we've got the page. Let's have a look at fetch. Let's have a look whether it's the megawatt page. Just to note that that's all fine this time. Ipsum. This is kind of, you know, like, when it works, it's now actually really, really nice. It's just it's not always working. Okay, I will stop being quite so crazy trying to do as many pages. We'll just go through sort of 4 of them. Just get it so you can see me at the keyboard behind it as well. And hello to the 2 extra people who've popped on in the last couple of minutes. Welcome along. Feel free to say howdy there if you like. Just trying to understand the bugs that we've got at the moment that I need to fix in the this browser for the MEGA65. So put URL in. Let's have a look at the page for fetch. Go back. Oh, I'm just doing it again. Very annoying. So there must be at least one other cause of the bug, right? And again, I reckon it will be to do with this, as to how on earth we're getting these 0 byte data deliveries, because they just shouldn't be happening. Okay, now it's really fascinating that. Yeah, something has been corrupted in memory because that the cursor is trying to edit in the wrong place, right? I think. Oh no, it's just I had the offset set too high. Okay. So anyway, so here are the pages that we've loaded previously. So as I said, I can use cursor up and down to choose those. So I can then go, oh, let's have a look at the fetch page again. If I hit return while I'm selecting that, it just pastes that over the top of the URL that we have to edit in there. And if we wanted to, we can then edit it. Oops. And again, I could have used the insert key to shift things across. I might even actually just make it so the insert is on by default and it shifts the rest of the line across. And I've brought something up there. And again, it's exited. So we're still corrupting memory somewhere. My gut feeling is that we've still got a DMA operation that can be 0 length, and that's causing this problem. So I might even instrument the DMA functions. But hopefully you're starting to get a little bit of an idea about the browser history that we've got in there. I'll just try and show if it'll behave for us. The next little party trick that's part of that. 203.28.176. Won't play nicely with this. So I'm purposely kind of putting off trying to track down that other bug just because it's a bit late here. I'm going to have to hit the sack shortly, but I just wanted to show off what's possible when it decides to work. And it knows that I want to, so it's not letting me. Naughty thing. But again, it's kind of nice. It's just it's really the same bug happening multiple times, I'm pretty sure. Like, it seems to be the same. It's not that we've got 15 different random bugs going on. Okay, right. So let's go to the lorem ipsum page. Okay, and there's our nice text, and I still love the scrolling on that. Now, again, you can see the keyboard through that, right? So the left arrow key, if I tap that, it goes back to the previous page in the history, and the history then gets updated as though we'd never gone to that other page. And so if it will play nicely for us, and let me load a couple of pages. Sweet. Okay, so we can use G, and there's our browser history. So if I was to have done the back arrow key from there, it just literally pops the previous one off the list and displays it. So let's go back and view the last page again. So actually what it has in the edit bar, I should actually say, is the last URL you typed in. So regardless of what links you follow, they will appear in here. But what you've typed in is still up there, so that you can still edit that if you want to. That's just the easiest way to do it. But if I now hit enter on the megawatt page, it will reload the megawatt page. And so if I go back from here, because we were already on the megawatt page when we loaded it, I think it will load the megawatt page again. Maybe, if it was going to work. I'm going to be so glad when we get this bug fixed. But it would have shown the megawatt page when I went back once, and then if I went back again, it would have gone back through those other pages. So we might just, without me editing it, I'll just try and access a couple of different pages and no, the peril sensitive mode is on. It knows I want to show you. Trying to get this into a spot where I can restart it a bit quicker. Okay. So that's we got the wrong port number before, is that it's key repeat on the port loading rubbish. And so I need to clamp the position on the line when we come in here. So the reason it's showing that funny number is because of course it wraps around at 64K. And so it's not changing port number. Let's I need to think about keys as well to be able to jump to the start and end of the line. Maybe I'll allow Control A and Control E or something like on Unix systems, since we don't have home and end keys. Type a full URL in. So the other thing I should say actually with this, while we're here typing this, because we're using the MEGA65's hardware accelerated keyboard input, I don't know whether you're quite going to be able to see this on the camera, but on the front printing on some of the MEGA65 keys, there are some of these other keys that you don't normally have on a C64 keyboard that are in ASCII. So for example, a backslash, so that's on the front of the slash key. So if I do Mega and that key, I will get a backslash. Likewise, this has got pipe, mega and dot. And so we get the pipe character. We can get tilde, we can get a backtick, we can get an underscore, and we can get curly brackets. So they're all, as you can see, super easy to access, and in a way that actually feels quite natural for on a Commodore style keyboard. And it's still got the wrong port number. I'm going to have to try and make a note of that. This is good. I'm finding a few different little bugs for me to go through and squash. So let's just, in the meantime, then I'll just restart it. Okay, wait for, yep, okay. On the upside, when I, well, probably when I sit down and actually have the time to try and find that bug and fix it, it'll refuse to appear. But, yeah, such is life. Okay, right. So let's go to the fetch page. I'm about to give up, I think, actually. Because I don't know about you, but I'm getting frustrated with not being able to get many pages loaded before it's interfering, which was supposed to be a 10-minute quick demonstration, really. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to give up. You get the general idea. We've kind of covered a bit of that, showing that we have the history there. We've got the that nice thing with the back arrow key that lets you go back through the history. And yeah, what I should do before I stop any further. So let's go back. Okay, so I fixed all of that. So we need to find and fix port number scanning bug. Find and fix URL editor position bug. Cursor can start at illegal position. Find and fix screen going to rubbish while loading a page bug. Right, so I think they're the three bugs that I need to work my way through, and then kind of pretty solid, I think. we're running right at the edge of memory, with CC65 being limited to using only the bottom 64K for code and for all the regular variables. So it's going to be a little bit interesting, because what I would like to do once I have it stably loading pages and then loading pages from remote websites and making sure that that's all fine, is adding a bit of MIME type support, so that if it's not an H65 file, we can load helper programs that will let us, for example, download a D81 file to the SD card, or download a ROM file to the SD card. So that will be what will start to make it really useful. So yeah, they'll be on the list. So I'll put the basic MIME type support. So I want to add that in. I also want to add in some kind of simple form support, so we can at least have like a search box where you can feed something in and have a CGI at the other end processing. It's going to be a little bit interesting actually to do, because it means we'll have to make CGI programs that can produce H65 output, and think about how we encode the form and the form fields in the H65 file. Probably what I'll do, I'll actually have a flag on some of the bounding boxes for the clickable links, and there'll be a flag that will indicate that it's not a link, that it's actually a form field, and then you'll be able to type stuff and it will just appear directly into that field. So that's my thinking at the moment. We'll see how that evolves as we go along. But anyway, I'm feeling a little bit frustrated that didn't been able to test this and do the kind of going through the thing without real dramas throughout the day when I was doing work earlier and yesterday. And so yeah, it's be interesting to find out what the subtle difference is that's really triggering the bug. I think I don't know. Is it related to the 0-byte data deliveries from the socket? That's my clues, right? Why on earth are we getting 0-byte deliveries from the socket? I reckon maybe the callback is getting called twice. That's quite possible, and that's relatively harmless. We just have to make sure that our code correctly handles that case. So anyway, have the note so I won't forget what's going on. Got a bit of driving to do over the next couple of days, so I may not be able to attack it until after that. But yeah, we're still making some progress, and really excited actually to what this little browser is going to let us do with the MEGA65. So anyway, hope that was a little bit interesting for folks, and we'll catch you around next time. See yous.